What is something that you actually remember being new technology, but is now obsolete? Digital photo frames. Everyone seemed to have one for about 3 weeks, and now I haven't seen one in about 10 years. I believe they're making a comeback with new versions where you can send photos directly to it. Infrared to send files from one phone to another. The ultimate stress when class was starting, but the transfer of M&M, Mockingbird was only halfway done. Jesus Christ, that was so relatable back in the day. Cell phones weren't allowed in class, but we couldn't move the phones off the desk before the IR transfer finished. I still remember when Bluetooth became popular, I'd start a transfer, then take one of the phones to another room just because I goddamn could. It felt so liberating. I had a laptop that had this feature and I never used it, probably around 2003 when I worked for Currys, electrical retailer in UK, which I bought as a clearance display model for about £450. I had an extended guarantee with it that promised a like-for-like replacement if it broke. 3 years later, none of the USB ports worked and the guarantee gave me a check for £197. I argued the toss and said I couldn't get a laptop with an infrared port on for that price, and they ended up giving me £760 to buy the only laptop Currys still did with an infrared port. Well argued. I bet that was a satisfying check. Did you buy that laptop or keep the cash and get a cheaper one? Anyone remembers the first phones with Bluetooth? I still recall us putting phones together as close as possible, thinking it'll go faster when sending ringtones to friends. Zip drives. In college, we had to try to save all our massive Photoshop files to max 500 megabyte zip disks. Fun little story about zip disks. I went to a university that had a strong graphic design program. We had a computer lab there with a color laser printer. This was 1999, so inkjets were only just starting to make glossy photorealistic prints, and even then rarely larger than 8.5 by 11. So, everyone had to pay for prints on the laser printer. Well, people were having problems with their zip disks. Mind you, it was where many people kept their only copy of their projects. The person behind the counter would slide the zip disk in, and, click click click. Disk couldn't be read, computer said it was blank, etc. This happened over and over. Then someone had a realization. In the middle of the counter was a large backup battery for what I presume for the critical systems behind the desk. Well, this thing apparently created an electromagnetic field, and it was right next to where students handed over their zip disks. It was wiping the disks the second they passed by. Just something that stuck with me during the good old days of sneakernet. Click. Arg. If this is how you want to play it, fine. I want you to remember the sound of a floppy, feebly looking for a sector. BRRT. Bert. Brit. Abort, retry, ignore. BRRT. Bert. Brit. And now remember that sound for the rest of the day. 3.5 were the new hotness. Laserdisc. Gigantic album-sized CDs, really. Gigantic album-sized CDs that played movies. T9 texting. I learned an entirely new way of relaying language and will never use it again. This is my favorite answer in this thread, as it really was very useful for a very short period of time. My first smartphone was in college, and until then, I always had a flip phone. In high school, everyone used T9 specifically for texting while in class, since you could keep it in your pocket and send texts without even looking. Still miss being able to type without having to look at my phone at all. They used to have competitions. Caller ID boxes. I used to think we were so fancy since we had the little box with the screen that showed name and number before anyone else we knew had one. Along that same line, answering machines. When I was a kid, if you called someone, you just let it ring 7 to 8 times. If they did not answer, you just hung up. Along the same lines, my then 15-year-old son didn't know what a busy signal was. He found a YouTube video when I told him about it. It was the first time he'd ever heard it. Tell him about the terror-inducing sound of leaving the phone off the hook. Get off my lawn. I had a party line when I was growing up. For the young ones out there, that is a line that you share with a random person because your parents were too cheap to pay for their own line. You could pick up the phone and hear someone talking and it's no one in your house. So you just hung up and waited for them to be done so you could make your call. It also meant that if the other person was on the line, your friends couldn't call you as the line was busy. One weekend the other party went away and left their phone off the hook for the entire weekend. For a teenager it was a fate worse than death. I hadn't even realized the decline of CDs until I bought a laptop with no CD-ROM. CD players, especially in cars. I thought the best thing ever would be to have a CD changer in my car. Now my car doesn't even have a CD player. My 2002 car came with a mini disc player, laughing out loud. I think it was the only year to do so. Wow. That's pretty special. I had a mini disc, they were great. I use my car's CD player every day, for my phone mount, which anchors in the CD drive. My dad was super excited the first time he brought a digital camera home for us to play with. It was a brick that took 8 photos and saved them onto a floppy disk. It even came with a floppy disk carry case so you didn't have to worry about losing them. Not exactly tech, but interactive encyclopedias on CDs. I remember being amazed as a kid, so much information, sound clips, music, images, even videos and easy search. Now you just have all of that and so much more on Wiki. Encarta. I used to look up different kinds of birds and there was always a sound clip of their unique chirping. Be honest, you just played Mind Maze like the rest of us. You have unlocked one hell of a fever dream memory for me, thank you. What a strange vibe that game had. I actually miss those encyclopedias. They were so well curated and the articles were concise and to the point, and they had great interactive features. Encarta was the best. At some point in the late 90s, Best Buy had a Black Friday sale on writable DVDs. I bought 200. I have about 150 of them left. I remember a CD-RW drive costing hundreds of dollars. Now it's like $20 on Amazon, laughing out loud. I spent $400 on what was the top-of-the-line CD burner in 1999, the name escapes me, in a dedicated burning station. They didn't have buffering back then, so your PC had to keep up with the burner. If some other Windows process spiked your CPU and there was a momentary delay, you'd ruin the CD and have to start over. Edit. I found an of my burner station. It's the one on the left. It was running Windows 2000 Professional and pretty much had just the OS and the burner software. The cable box on top, and IR flasher, was plugged into the middle PC which ran Windows and Sage TV. The PC on the right was Red Hat Linux and was my backup server. These were my little server farm in a spare bedroom. My main PC that I used was in another room. Web link. My parents got a CD burner in the mid-90s, my buddy had a cable modem, we got a 1.2 gig hard drive from an old computer to move between our houses, and then we made all the mixed CDs. My trick was to set it to burn at 1x and then walk away. Sure, it might be able to burn at 2x, but I made a lot of coasters before I dropped the right speed. Felt so shady. We knew a guy with a CD burner, get your PlayStation chipped, starting burning games baby. Felt like the closest to organized crime I'd ever been. Yeah, I bought a DVD writer a decade ago along with one of those giant spindles of writable discs. Maybe got halfway through the package. It's floating around in a box somewhere from when I moved. Still, have the DVD writer in my PC, but I haven't used it for at least 3 years, and even before that it was pretty infrequently used. Edit. Check my Newegg order history. Ordered the DVD burner and giant spindle of DVDs in 2005. Flip phones. I remember when the Motorola Razr was cutting edge. When people were losing their crap excited about a flip smartphone, it quite literally hurt my brain to think about the weird time circle I had lived through, from a flip phone being the coolest to obsolete and then coming back around to cool. CD players. I remember how much better these things were. It was amazing. Put the tape in the tape player, Plug in the power to the cigarette lighter, gently set the CD player on a folded towel or pile of shirts, and listen to the CD skip every time you hit the tiniest of bumps. You could get an anti-skip platform for the car. It had a wee damper system that could deal with the bouncing for a couple of seconds. When we had a long bumpy stretch, one of us kids would hold the CD player out in the air and let our arms serve as a shock absorber so it wouldn't skip. Remember when they introduced CD players with a buffer? It took a second to start up each track, but it would read ahead a few seconds and play on the delay, so that it could accommodate bumps that would otherwise cause skipping. Palm Pilots. VCRs. I remember when they cost close to $1,000 CDN and were the greatest thing ever. I specifically remember sitting on the living room floor with my brother playing Ocarina of Time on the N64 and saying to each other, "Man, graphics can't get better than this." I remember playing GoldenEye on N64 and thinking it was the literal peak of gaming. I wasn't really into PC stuff even though multiplayer was around for a while by then, so having a few friends in one room split screen with a pizza was literal heaven. I'm pretty sure multiplayer N64 GoldenEye was the peak of gaming, dude. So much. One that rings a bell is I remember watching a tech show about a new thing that had just been invented and was said to be indestructible replacement for tapes. Called the CD. I remember some wag selling a DVD rewinder, smiley face. Our local VHS renter had a DVD rewinder fee that they imposed on all DVD renteries. You had to dispute the fee every time you rented a DVD. Should have told them you rewound it before returning. Can't believe testing was so bad they thought they were indestructible. The slightest scratch. TiVo. It was a big deal to be able to automatically record shows, and an even bigger deal to be able to skip commercials. Now, we just watch it on demand. I still use TiVo. It's better than crafty cable company DVR by a country mile. Dial-up internet. I loved being able to do Mad Libs, chat with people on IRC or Yahoo, get Mortal Kombat fatalities, and print off naked pictures from Playboy that took me 20 minutes to download laughing out loud. I was so amazed. I do miss the Wild West era of the internet sometimes. Once high-speed internet became the norm, that era kind of came to an end. It's nice that everything just works now though, but social media and such has led the way to some interesting times we're in. A/S/L. Cordless phones. When they first dropped, it was the newest thing imaginable. Flash forward a few years and no one even has a house phone. I remember when my uncle, who lived about 30 minutes from my family's house, went to visit and brought his cordless phone, just the phone, not the dock, thinking he would be able to use it while he was here. We all had a good laugh. Dedicated MP3 players. Going from a Walkman to a Discman to a MP3 player was huge. I can have all my albums on this one device. These days people look at me funny for not just using my phone. But the iPod Classic is still the best music device I've ever found. I can't jog with my phone. It is huge and bulky. My MP3 player is smaller than a flip phone, so it is just better for exercising. I've had it for over 10 years now. The wheel holding the button fell off, so I taped it back on because I don't want to throw it away. I love it that much. Edit. The brand is a Sony Walkman. It's got a nice team blue coloration on it. I love the Zune. Custom ringtones. It used to be such a huge industry back in the day, and people would actually pay money for crafty 8-bit versions of songs to play when people called them. Now most people I know just keep their phones on vibrate or silent and use default ringtones. And, to go along with this, ringback tones. So many people had a crafty buzzy song blasting into your ear when you just wanted to ask what time they wanted to meet up. There are still songs that I'll come across that I can't listen to because they trigger my get this crap out of my ear response from ringback tones. My friends and I are in our 30s, and I have a buddy that has the same number/provider since high school, and when you call him it still plays Someday by Nickelback. I think he was going through a breakup when he picked it. I remember spending hours with a Nokia 3310 manually typing in the notes of the ringtone to make it sound like a song. There were websites that told you what buttons to press to get the correct notes. I remember when GPS devices came out, that was huge. No more printing out directions, the little machine will direct you. Pretty much immediately the same exact thing was added to smartphones. I bet my dad still has his GPS in his glove box dusty as all hell. I think that while the car GPSs are obsolete, standalone ones for hiking or backpacking aren't. Batteries last longer, have an antenna that works better under tree cover, more rugged, etc. I still use my Garmin 60 CSX, but it's pretty old now. I'm assuming they still make new models. Zip drives. Game Boy Color Sigh. For me it was the original Nintendo DS. I had a GB Color but never had a GB Advance, and when I got my first NDS it was like an alien technology in my eyes, haha. Who else remembers the entire camcorder/camera/DSLR section in Best Buy? Netscape Navigator, not really a piece of tech, but hey. DVDs. I remember everyone moving from VHS to DVD, and my broke butt was delighted because I could score all these cool movies on the cheap for my perfectly functional VCR. Pagers. Those 20-pound phone books delivered every year to your doorstep. They actually had a lot of useful information about local government and community events. I remember when I was a kid, the rich neighbor down the street installed a satellite dish. Basic cable, he needed a gigantic frisbee on his roof so that he could access dozens of independent TV channels. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.